If you are an MSME founder, there is a good chance your day starts early and ends late. You are on calls, you are following up, you are checking on teams, you are replying to customers, you are solving problems that suddenly appear. By the end of the day, you are genuinely tired. And yet, if someone asks you a simple question, how confident do you feel about your sales right now? Most founders hesitate, not because they are lazy, not because they are careless, but because somewhere inside there is a quiet discomfort. Sales feels heavy, uncertain, effortful. And sometimes the most confusing part is this. I am working all day. Why does sales still feel so hard? That question, spoken or unspoken, is where today's conversation begins. Let me say this very clearly at the start. If sales feels hard for you, it doesn't mean you are incapable. It doesn't mean you lack discipline. It does not mean you are doing nothing. In fact, in most MSMEs, the opposite is true. Sales feels hard because founders are involved in everything. They carry sales on their shoulders. They intervene when deals get stuck. They jump in when a customer hesitates. They push when numbers look weak. From the outside, it looks like commitment, but from the inside, it feels like constant pressure. And slowly, sales stops feeling like a function. It starts feeling like a burden. There is an invisible equation many founders carry often without realizing it. It goes like this. More effort equals better results. This equation works beautifully in some parts of life. If you exercise more consistently, your health improves. If you study more thoughtfully, understanding deepens. So naturally, founders apply the same logic to sales. If I work harder, if I follow up more, if I stay more involved, results should improve. But sales, especially in MSMEs, does not always respond to effort in a linear way. Sometimes more effort only creates more exhaustion. This is where confusion begins because the founder is doing everything right by effort standards, yet outcomes remain unstable. What most MSMEs are dealing with is not a motivation gap, it is a structure gap. A gap between activity and outcome, a gap between movement and progress, a gap between effort and compounding results. This gap is subtle, and because it is subtle, it is dangerous. You can be very busy and still be misaligned. You can be very sincere and still be inefficient. You can be very hardworking and still feel stuck. Sales feels hard not because effort is missing, but because effort is not flowing through a clear structure. Here is why this gap often goes unnoticed. Founders are inside the system, not observing it. When you are inside, every follow-up feels necessary, every deal feels urgent, every delay feels personal. There is no distance. Sales becomes emotional instead of structural. And when sales is emotional, the natural response is to add more effort, not more clarity. This creates a loop. Sales feels uncertain, founder intervenes more, founder gets busier, system dependency increases, sales feels even heavier. Nothing breaks, but nothing stabilizes either. In many MSMEs, sales exists, but only because the founder exists. Deals move because the founder pushes, the founder negotiates, the founder reassures. This works for a while, but the cost shows up quietly. You cannot switch off, you cannot step away, you cannot predict. Sales does not feel like a system you can trust. It feels like something you must constantly carry. That is why, even on good months, founders feel anxious because they do not know why sales worked. And if you do not know why something worked, you cannot trust it to work again. Let me offer a simple distinction. Activity answers the question, what am I doing? Direction answers the question, where is this effort flowing? Many MSMEs are high on activity, very low on direction. Calls are happening, meetings are happening, follow-ups are happening, but effort is scattered. When effort is scattered, it leaks. You feel busy, but nothing compounds. Sales begins to feel like pushing a rock uphill every single day. In Vedantic thought, there is a quiet but powerful idea. Action without alignment creates bondage, not freedom. This is not philosophy for meditation halls, it is deeply practical. When action is not aligned with order, it creates fatigue instead of fulfillment. The same applies to sales. Effort without structure does not create growth, it creates strain. And strain over time makes founders resent the very business they once built with joy. In large organizations, sales failure is usually absorbed by the system. In MSMEs, sales failure feels personal. A lost deal feels like rejection. A delayed decision feels like disrespect. A price objection feels like doubt in your worth. This emotional load makes sales heavier than it needs to be. And when sales is emotional, it becomes reactive. Reactive sales has no rhythm, no predictability, no calm, only urgency. Let me say this gently but firmly. You are not tired because you are weak. You are tired because you are carrying something that should be held by a system. Sales is not supposed to depend on your daily mood. It is not supposed to depend on your constant intervention. It is not supposed to depend on firefighting. When it does, sales will always feel hard, no matter how much you work. Many founders imagine sales clarity as more leads, better scripts, stronger closing techniques. Those have their place, but clarity at a deeper level feels like this. You know where deals come from. You know why deals move or stall. You know what requires your attention and what does not. Clarity reduces noise before it increases numbers. Without clarity, growth only amplifies chaos. Let me leave you with a reflection, not an instruction. Ask yourself this, not urgently, not defensively. If I stepped away from sales for 2 weeks, what would actually stop? Not what your fear would stop, what would actually stop? Your answer to that question reveals where structure is missing, not where effort is lacking. Sales does not need more pressure, it needs more order. It does not need more motivation, it needs more clarity. And clarity, once established, does something remarkable. Sales stops feeling heavy, not because you are doing less, but because your effort finally has somewhere stable to flow. We will explore this further in the coming episodes. For now, notice this gently. If sales feels hard despite your effort, the problem is not you. It is the invisible gap between effort and structure. Stay with that